Welcome to this episode of ISV Talks. I'm Carol Livingston of Dynamics Connections and your host of ISV Talks. On this episode, I have Rob Fegan from Venvito. So, welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Carol. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Great. So, Rob, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure, Rob Fagan, and I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem now for coming up on 20 years. And I've been both as an individual contributor on the sales side and then as a founder and co-founder of a Microsoft partner. So I've really been involved in the ecosystem for a couple decades now, working with partners and coaching them on how to integrate with Microsoft and how to be a more effective Microsoft partner.
Right. It sounds like the reason you started this was because you were a partner and found that it was kind of challenging getting to around Microsoft, right? In the Microsoft world.
It's a huge, huge gap in the market, I think, for partners is that Microsoft does publish a ton of content, but there's no really good way to bring that content together and sort of assimilate that into a way that works for you and your business. And I saw that as just a big opportunity to help partners be more effective and really to drive pipeline, drive sales. At the end of the day, that's really what it's about for all of us.
Right. Yeah. So tell us what are the basic descriptions that you have of your services for dynamic VARs or SIs?
Sure, sure. Let's talk about the Dynamics community as an example. There is so much that you can do in the Dynamics world. There's so many different components of D365 or Dynamics 365, and really understanding what you're great at, what your superpower is, and being able to convey that to Microsoft and all the
Mhm.
sellers inside of Microsoft is so critical. And I think it's one of the first things that partners miss is that they come out and they'll say, well, we're a Dynamics partner. And that really is so broad. It doesn't really help Microsoft
Mhm.
identify where you're a good fit for their sort of customer base. And that's really one of the first things I work with in the Dynamics partner community is how are you showing up in the eyes of Microsoft? We all know how we show up in front of our customer, but it's equally important to know how you're showing up in front of Microsoft. So that's the first place that I start. So does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, working with Microsoft is sometimes a mystery, right? There's Microsoft sellers, there's account managers, there's a lot of people inside that huge organization.
Well, you bring up a great point there. And that's really the second part of how I work with the partner community is that once they understand what their message is, they then need to understand how and who to connect with inside of Microsoft. To your
Mhm.
point, there's thousands and thousands of people inside of Microsoft, but there's only a small subset of those people that are really interested in what you do and you can impact their world. And being able to find those people, align with those people,
Mhm.
and really work in a way that helps them and adds value for the Microsoft field team is such a critical component of that sort of what I call a four-step process. The first step being the messaging and then aligning with the sales teams.
Yeah. So, in what way do you think your services help Dynamics partners solve these, problems with getting to know and being known by Microsoft?
Right. Well, I think you touched on it there is that the really one of the most important things to do is to get yourself in front of Microsoft and show up in a way
Mhm.
that adds value for the Microsoft sellers, for the Microsoft field team. But to do that, there's a lot of components that you need to put in place. We talked about messaging, we talked about field alignment, but then there's also the component of the Microsoft, what they call the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, which is a mouthful, but understanding how to leverage that. And so that's part of what I work with partners on is you really have to dig into that partner program. You have to show up in a way that makes sense, that communicates your value to Microsoft and gets you, in sort of in the process of being known inside of Microsoft.
Yeah. So, I guess it sounds like you kind of start with just the messaging, but how else do you help the partners explore all the programs and value-added partnership offerings they have?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the things that we're seeing today is that Microsoft is really doubling down on the marketplace. So this is an area that I spend a great deal of time with Microsoft D365 partners is understanding how they can leverage marketplace. As a matter of fact, I'm just finishing an engagement with a Dynamics partner where the whole engagement was building up to their marketplace offer and aligning the field teams with that offer so that they could what's called co-sell with Microsoft field sellers. So
Mhm.
it really is important that partners understand that Microsoft is heavily invested in the marketplace and that it's going to be a big part of their go forward motion. And so I help the partners, the D365 partners, take advantage of that, leverage the marketplace so that they can align with the co-sell programs that Microsoft offers. It's all done through the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. So it's all
Mhm.
intertwined and sort of together, but all these different components and programs that you need to understand in order to be successful.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep up with too. The programs change, like the new AIM program,
Yeah.
even smaller partners can take advantage of as well, right?
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point there is that, traditionally partners think of Microsoft as focused on the enterprise space, that they want these big, multinational companies or international companies. And now this year, and I know it's going to move forward into next year, is there is a huge focus on what they've referred to or Microsoft refers to as SMC or small to
Oh.
medium corporate businesses, right in the wheelhouse of a lot of the partners that I work with. Focus on that customer that's 100, 500, 750 seats, not a multinational company, but
Mhm.
still has a huge impact. And as a partner, we can bring an enormous amount of value to them. And Microsoft sees that and is aligning a lot of the programs that are out there today to that very
Yeah,
customer, to that vertical. So it's a huge change in the Microsoft sort of philosophy of going to market, is really doubling down on the what they call
SMC.
SMC, yeah, small, medium, and corporate business. So it's a mouthful, as Microsoft is famous for. They do like the acronym. So
Oh, so you need an acronym dictionary to work with Microsoft for sure.
yeah, that's for sure.
What,
I think
so
I
you
did
said
a
SMC and how many seats? What does that mean in terms of revenue, like size?
It's an interesting question because they think of it as less than $1 billion in revenue, but you're probably in the tens of millions in revenue as sort of the lower threshold. And there's no magic bullet to this is exactly who's going to fit where. That's all
Yeah.
done sort of behind the scenes with Microsoft Finance. But I give partners sort of a guidance of if you think between 250 seats or employees up to somewhere around the 10,000 seat employees, that's where it's going to fall, and the revenue can really range quite wildly in that space.
Hmm.
But if you use that as a general guideline, those types of companies will fall into SMC and will be what Microsoft refers to as managed accounts. So what managed means is that there is an account executive aligned to those customers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And when you're unmanaged, good luck.
Well, yeah, and so a couple things on that. One is there's the unmanaged customer by
Mhm.
meaning that Microsoft hasn't aligned an account executive, but there's also the unmanaged partner, the Microsoft
Hmm.
partner being unmanaged. And if you're okay with it, I'd love to talk about that for just a minute
Sure. Yeah.
because it's really important that traditionally partners have said, I want to be a managed partner, I need to be a managed partner. And I would encourage Microsoft partners, and especially Dynamics partners, not to get hung up on that. Nowadays, that
Okay.
the access is so much greater. Microsoft is publishing much more content, opening up programs and workshops that are accessible to all partners, not just managed partners. So
Hmm.
it's become less and less of an issue to be considered a managed partner. Sure, there are some benefits, and I'm not going to say there aren't, but overall, as an unmanaged partner, you have the ability to be just as successful as a managed partner. So that's something I wanted to really lean in on for you because I talk to partners all the time and they're like, my goal is to be managed. And I'm like, well, really, what's the outcome you want? Is the outcome to be managed or is the outcome to co-sell with Microsoft? And you don't need to be managed to co-sell. So
Right. Yeah. And what advantage is it to have a co-sell opportunity or option for Microsoft? What does that mean?
Yeah, so to co-sell with Microsoft means that you're going jointly, shoulder to shoulder with Microsoft into the customer. And, you either can be the lead on that, or in some cases, Microsoft is the
Okay.
lead bringing you in. But it means that you're going together, you're in lockstep throughout the sales cycle. And a lot of this is going to be predicated on your status inside of the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, as well as having a listing in the marketplace. So one of the benefits of having a listing is that Microsoft can forward leads to you that are attached to what they call your co-sell offer in marketplace. So again, that leans
Okay.
into why it's so important to be considered or considering as part of your strategy an offer in marketplace, because they can link, Microsoft sellers can link to that offer leads and pass those leads to you as a partner.
Okay. So, and that's what you do is kind of help people get that offer put together and help them get that registered with Microsoft, right?
Yeah, I really help with the whole journey, starting with the messaging, where we're just getting that clear on what our messaging is, through to field alignment or sales field alignment, and then moving into the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program,
Yeah.
all the way through to incentives. And so it's really a journey, and it's not a quick journey. Let's be clear about that. With Microsoft, nothing
Right.
happens really quickly, but if you understand the pieces of the journey, then you can execute against them and you can create
Yeah.
processes to keep your status and your exposure inside of Microsoft top of mind.
Mm. Yeah. And if you have a co-sell opportunity, that does that mean the Microsoft resellers internally are looking to find opportunities that they can give you as a co-sell provider, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So Microsoft sellers are trying to address their customers' problems. And if your solution aligns to that problem, you are definitely an answer that they're looking for. So when you solve a big problem and Microsoft's aware that you solved that problem,
Yeah.
that's where the real synergy happens, is that they can then
Hmm.
introduce you directly through the marketplace. They can introduce the customer through the marketplace. They can involve you through the co-sell motion. So there's just a ton of benefits to doing this. And I think it's
Yeah.
one of the unique advantages that D365 partners have, is that there's so much that can be built around the Dynamics platform and so many
Yeah.
offers to solve really big and complex problems that
Hmm.
lend themselves to an offer in the marketplace and lend themselves to getting in front of the Microsoft field to share how you solved that problem. So I think there's just a phenomenal opportunity for D365 partners today.
Awesome. Well, that's good news because I know it can be confusing. The programs do change periodically. And so, can you tell us a story, Rob, about how you've helped a Dynamics partner and how that was successful and why?
Sure, sure. I recently went through an engagement with a Dynamics partner that actually was born out of a software development company. So they were
Okay.
building solutions that would bolt on to the side of Dynamics and legacy, nav products and GP, but they weren't getting the traction inside of Microsoft because Microsoft really didn't know how they were helping move the ecosystem forward, or helping to sell the new version of, or the new
Mhm.
vision for Dynamics 365. So we really invested in the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, had them do their skilling, which is the training they needed to do, and then work with customers that they were already engaged with and already doing great work for, but had them move that into the AI Cloud Partner Program so they got recognition for it. And
Uh,
inside that program, there's a point system, and each partner needs to achieve 70 points in what they call the solution designation of biz
Okay.
apps or business applications. So we spent a great deal of time working to get their status inside of the AI Cloud Partner Program built up, achieve their 70 points. Once they got that, now the real motion is getting them in front of field sellers and sharing with them the work that they're doing. They're building unique applications, and we're getting that in front of the Microsoft field team to say, look, when you see this problem inside of a customer, and it was the F&O product, the finance and operations product, where it was solving a big, unique problem. Now that
Right.
the sellers know about that, they can introduce this company every time that they see that problem. So it's a phenomenal way to really create synergy with the field
Mhm.
sellers.
Okay. Maybe just changing gears a little bit here. I'm kind of curious, since you've been in the channel a while, both as a partner and now helping partners, what changes have you seen in the channel over the past couple of years, and kind of what challenges are you seeing that Dynamics partners are faced with?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there's so much innovation going on right now. We just think of what Microsoft is talking about around Copilot and
Right? Yeah.
AI. And so it's evolving so quickly today that I think one of the big challenges facing the D365 community is how these changes are going to impact the customer today, how they're going to change their business.
Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
one of the big areas I'm seeing. And then we touched on already the marketplace and how customers are buying is changing. So the customer journey is now not waiting to talk to a salesperson, but going out and finding a lot of this data before they ever reach out to a seller
Right.
and talk to a salesperson. So investing in understanding how that purchasing dynamic is changing is going to be critical, and leveraging the tools like Marketplace that Microsoft is making available to us is a big change. And then just in general, I'm seeing some consolidation now. I'm seeing companies sort of coming together and combining into larger entities. I'm also
Mm-hmm.
seeing some of the ISVs getting brought together into sort of one larger company that has more
Mm-hmm.
of a sales focus versus a technology founder-led focus. So there is a lot of changes going on, a lot of shifts in the marketplace. And so it is ever changing and it's always interesting. But those are a few of the
Yep.
things that I'm seeing changing today that I think people need to be aware of. D365 partners really need to understand how that's going to impact their business and what they can
Mm-hmm.
do to align closer with that.
Yeah. So, any other observations or just challenges in working with Microsoft? I think you mentioned a few, but
I think one of the big things is really when you do show up in front of Microsoft, be clear on what your value proposition is,
mm,
who you work with, what types of companies you work with, how you help them is going to be really critical. And then the one thing that a lot of people miss is what's in it for Microsoft. So you want to be really clear on how you're going to help the Microsoft field person, either with consumption or the usage of the product, or acquiring new licenses or upgrading from an older version to, say, Business Central. So there's so many things that you need to really be clear on when you're talking to Microsoft. And I think it's one of the
right.
things that partners need to really understand is when they do show up and they have that opportunity to be in front of Microsoft, be very clear on who you are, what you do, how you do it, and most importantly, how you help Microsoft.
Yeah, kind of that unique value that they bring. And I think also too, just even industry expertise, as I talk with partners in the Dynamics channel, it seems like some specialize, in verticals, healthcare, construction, all types, commodities, and they've partner with other like third party add-ons or ISVs. So tell us about how that might be something that they can put together for Microsoft.
That's a great point, Carol. So inside of Microsoft, they've started aligning in terms of these verticals. And you touched on a few of them there: healthcare, retail, manufacturing, not for profit. There's all kinds of different verticals. And Microsoft realizes how important it is to really specialize and understand that each industry has their own unique problems, their own unique challenges, their compliance
Right.
requirements. And so when
Mhm.
you as a partner can show up and say to Microsoft, look, we understand what it means to be a discrete manufacturer. We understand the problems that they have, or we understand what is required in this type of a healthcare organization. We know what the compliance requirements are. We know
Mhm.
they need their operations to run. And so being able to have those conversations at an industry specific level is massive value for the Microsoft field teams.
Right.
You think that
Yeah.
so many customers across so many different verticals, they can't be an expert in any one. And so if you as the partner can show up and say, look, we can have those conversations on your behalf, that's massive value for Microsoft. You know,
Mhm.
it really it changes the game. It's I talk of, three different things you want to bring to Microsoft. You either want to bring revenue, relevance, or relationships. Well, relevance, if you're an industry expert, you
Yeah.
bring massive relevance to Microsoft. So I think that that is very, very important to understand that if you do have that industry expertise,
Hmm.
double down on that, triple down on that, because it really is something that it's hard to beat, it's hard to match. It sets you apart from all the other partners that could be out there, claiming they could do that one thing. But if you can do it specific to that industry, it is by
Right.
far a competitive differentiator for you.
Yeah, definitely. And what about working with an ISV that's very industry specific, or even just make it a more enhanced, augmented D365 experience for customers?
Yeah, and you bring up something so important that it's a change Microsoft is making today, and we're seeing it happen inside a marketplace, but it's a concept called the multi-party offer, or MPO for short. And Microsoft sees the value and understands the value of partners coming together. So a D365 partner that deploys, bringing in or partnering with these specific ISVs that solve very specific industry
Mhm.
problems or have unique solutions, and bringing them together to create this multi-party offer that brings an entire business solution together versus you go deploy Dynamics, then we'll get somebody else to do this and somebody else to do that. Now,
Hmm.
as a partner, you can come in and say, no, we can solve this entire supply chain issue or this
Right.
entire F&O issue because we come to it with multiple partners all coming together under one offer. And so it's a super powerful approach to
Hmm.
selling and sales in general.
Yeah, and it expands your superpower, right? As
It
you're
really
bringing
does.
more
Yeah.
expertise. I mean, I know and love the ISV community, and so I know that they bring huge value to add to vertical, industries, or even just enhancing the systems, to themselves, and even just a horizontal way, across multiple industries. So yeah. I love
Yeah.
that idea of the multi-offer. So is that an offer to a specific customer, or is that just oh, we just have this bundle that we put out there?
No, so in true Microsoft fashion, there's multiple ways you can deal with this. But so there's the
Yes.
multi-party offer, which would just be an offer in the open market. So it's
Okay.
you're coming in, and any customer could take advantage of this offer, which would be, a D365 partner and maybe one, two, three ISVs coming together. But there's also the concept of the MPPO, or party private offer, which is an offer that you could bring to a specific customer. So it would just be an offer negotiated for one customer, and it's a private offer not available to the market at large. So there's a lot of different ways to work with this, but I think that overall, the concept of partnering with the ISV community as a
Mm-hmm.
D365 partner is going to be a competitive advantage. In my mind, it's something that you're going to have to do. It's not going to be,
Hmm.
oh, it would be nice to do, or we should think about that down the road. I think that the D365 partners that are going to be most successful are those that start to bring these together quickly and build more complete offers, more differentiated offers, and bring
Yeah.
those offers to market. So I think it's just going to be a massive opportunity. It goes in both directions too. ISVs can
Hmm.
take advantage of the D365 partners and create their own offer where it's,
Yeah.
the ISV leading the charge, but the D365 partner is shoulder to shoulder with them. So
Hmm.
I think there's a ton of different ways that D365 partners can approach this and really set themselves apart in the marketplace.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I wonder if the ISVs are thinking that way. That a lot of these things are directed to the partners. And then the ISVs kind of are, trying to attract those and recruit those VARs to sell their products, right, with their offers to clients. So it's kind of an interesting way to kind of lead with an ISV, and then the partner joins in.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that it is a real interesting way for ISVs to think about the business now. It's like
Yeah.
customers are going to need the platform in order to
Hmm.
execute or to use or take advantage of the ISV solution. And so bringing the platform along with them and the partner that can help them achieve that, to me, seems like a very natural next step in the ISV journey. And I know that Microsoft is less mature in the ISV space than some of the other hyperscalers, but
Hmm.
I think that they're quickly catching up. I think that the ISV community, as it integrates into the Microsoft ecosystem, is maturing quickly. And we'll see more of that come in the future where the ISV is leading the charge because the ISV can very clearly state, here's the business problem we solve,
Yeah.
versus, we're trying to boil the whole platform. So it's just an interesting way and something I've been thinking about over the last year of how ISVs can really leverage what's going on.
Yeah, because they know about the app source, of course, right? They can list their apps out there, and that extends their reach. But there's thousands of apps out there, and so how do those ISVs distinguish or showcase their products and get in front of not only partners but customers in the Microsoft space?
Right. I mean, it really is truly, it's getting to be a crowded marketplace. And it goes hand in hand with the buyer journey is changing. And so we need to find a way as an ISV and as a Dynamics partner to create a solution that is more holistic, that it drives towards a business outcome. And we have to
Hmm.
find ways to get that message out there. And that can be through traditional marketing, it can be through aligning with the Microsoft field sales team and helping them to understand where you fit in the ecosystem. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a multi-pronged approach to solving this problem, and it's not an easy problem to solve, but it's definitely one worth solving. I mean, it can change the
Mhm.
trajectory of your business if you get that exposure, get that understanding from the Microsoft field, what you do, where you fit, and then really,
Yeah.
utilizing everything available to you in the marketplace.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you or someone that told me recently that Microsoft is seeing that Biz Apps is growing exponentially for their business. So they're putting a lot of emphasis and, resources.
They absolutely are. And I think a lot of this is driven through the co-pilot motion now. That if you think about Dynamics really holds a massive amount of data and it holds insights into companies' businesses. And so Microsoft, I really believe, sees the vision of Copilot and AI being driven as with Dynamics as the foundation.
Uh-huh.
You bring in all the other components like Outlook and PowerPoint, all the different pieces. But at the end of the day, a lot of our business data and the intelligence that we know about our business lives and resides in Dynamics. So I absolutely see Dynamics getting much more attention. I see Microsoft focusing on it. I see the biz app sellers really focusing on driving business through the Dynamics channel. So I think it's a huge opportunity, again, both on the ISV side and on the D365
Yeah.
partnership. So, and you interestingly mentioned AIM as an example.
Yeah.
One of the goals of that program is to move people from the legacy, I'm going to call it legacy dynamics, but
Yeah.
legacy platforms into dynamics, into
Right.
business central, because then all of a sudden their data becomes more consolidated, more accessible, more protected. And with that, Microsoft and the partners can leverage tools like Copilot and AI. So
Mhm.
I see that there's going to be more and more emphasis. I think you'll see more programs from Microsoft driving towards that legacy to current state in the Dynamics world.
Yeah, and I really like the AIM program. It makes a lot of sense that it's helping those partners and customers kind of stop and do an assessment. Where are we at today and what are our needs into the future? And, how does Microsoft products map to that? And I think that's really a brilliant approach, kind of in that digital transformation, assessment, right? Kind of like where do we need to be in the future? It's a great tool, and it's great that Microsoft is providing incentives, for helping partners and customers with that journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Mm.
they really are investing on that. And the AIM program is it's designed for smaller companies. It's not designed for your,
Yeah.
multinationals. It's designed for those companies that a lot of the
Yeah.
partner communities deal with day in and day out. So I think it's huge value for partners. And to your point, it's such a great first step to just go and,
Yeah.
whole hog, dump everything you've
Yeah.
done. We're going to start over. It's no, let's assess where we're at. Let's look
Hmm.
those first few steps could be and take baby steps into where we want to
Right.
get to. So for me, I think that there's the AIM program, but there are all kinds of programs and incentives offered by Microsoft. And it behooves partners to really understand what they are and how to leverage them, because
Hmm.
there are millions of dollars available to
Agree.
the partner community. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that all the time that people miss, out on getting resources, like funds for marketing or
Yeah.
other programs just because they don't know about it or they don't take the steps, to get enrolled in them. So great. Yeah.
There's
So
Microsoft publishes a like 200-page incentive guide. So, and I know at the end we'll share my email
sure.
address, but if somebody doesn't have it, they can email me and I'd
Okay.
be happy to connect them with it, because
Have some
it
light
really,
reading on your vacation or
right. It is some nighttime reading for sure. It will, if you've got any sleeping issues, it'll help you.
hmm. Yeah. So, Rob, just kind of in wrapping this up, what do you think is kind of the one trend that drives people to come and talk to you that are in this space, either Dynamics partners or ISVs?
Yeah, for me, it really is when the owners, founders, leaders acknowledge that there is more they can do. There's more they can bring to the
Yeah.
market. They've got more to offer. They just don't know how to connect with Microsoft
Yeah.
to get that out there and to really leverage the Microsoft ecosystem and the Microsoft machine to really help
Mhm.
them succeed in their business. That's how, I know it's a good fit when that's their mission, is really to get that message out at scale with Microsoft. And that's where I find I have the most success and the most value for partners, is when
Mhm.
that's what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So, kind of helping them grow and leveraging and working closer with Microsoft. That's like huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, at the end of the day, if I can help a partner drive pipeline and revenue, that's really how I measure
Yeah.
my success, is that I've been able to guide you in driving revenue, driving pipeline for your sustained success. That's really, at the end of the day, what it's all about for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, and I know I looked at your website. I know you have some resources like training and you have some other kind of webinars and things, resources that you offer partners. Tell us a little bit about those services.
Yeah, so one thing I do each week, I interview someone different from Microsoft, and that's one of my favorite things to do. Selfishly, I get to learn just as much as you do. A
Yeah,
lot of times, I'm hearing things from these people. So,
for sure. Yeah.
I'd encourage connect with me on LinkedIn, and I publish, as I said, every week. I try and publish a video from Microsoft or with Microsoft, and then I just write each week or each day. I do a post about partnering with Microsoft, and just a little tidbit or a little something that's
Nice.
actionable and you can do each
Mhm.
day. So follow me there. And then on my website, as you said, I've got a number of free resources that you can go and get, and you can always reach out to me and set up some time as well through my calendar right on my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rob, for joining us today on this episode of ISV Talks. It was great to meet you and learn about your services. Here's Rob's contact information if you want to reach out to him and learn more. So, thank you again, Rob.
Thank you, Carol. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed our conversation. And
Me
for
too.
those that do want to reach out, you can either connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can email me at rob@venvito. It's VENVITO.net. And I'd be happy to connect with you there as well. So thanks again, Carol. I really enjoyed today's conversation.
Yeah, thank you. All right, friends, we'll see you on the next episode of ISV Talks, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Take care.